the Jews, but also the bystanders, the non-Jewish populations who were suddenly exposed to the sight of the full barbarity of Nazi rule and the apparent impotence of their native governments and administrations to save a portion of their population. The German resistance is another matter and is not covered in this book. Germany was neither invaded nor occupied, and in that sense there was nothing to resist. Much of the German opposition to Hitler was not anti-German, and it did not want Germany to lose the war. Indeed, the aim of the actual plots against Hitler was to make Germany win, or at least save it from losing. The internal opposition within a conquering nation has nothing in common with the resistance in the countries it has defeated and occupied. Austria has been excluded for the same reason. Austria was termed the first victim of Hitler by the meeting of the Allied foreign ministers in Moscow in 1943. But in 1938, the vast majority of Austrians had greeted the Anschluss with Germany with elation, many of them having longed for it for decades, and they fully participated in the furtherance of German war aims. The book is divided into 3 parts following a broad chronology. The first part, Why Resist?, covers the period from March 1939 with the occupation of Czechoslovakia and Albania to the German invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941. This is the period during which the Axis conquered most of Europe, quite possibly permanently, and the Allied armies were forced to leave the continent. It quickly became apparent that the level of resistance was dependent partly on the severity of the occupation regime and partly on the previous record of occupation suffered by each country. This is also the time when those who were pondering resistance had to consider how to resist. As one resistor later explained, "To resist, therefore, but how, when, and where? There were no laws, no guidelines, no precedents to show the way. It was not like joining a church or a party or even a club. They all had rules and buildings. For resisting, there were no rules and not even a skeleton of an organization." The initial answers included the rescue of trapped Allied servicemen and the provision of intelligence to the Allies. Yet at the same time, others set out on a path of various degrees of collaboration with the occupiers. The majority settled for a policy of accommodation and attentisme, wait and see, opting to engage in neither resistance nor collaboration, but to hold fire until it became clear who was going to win. As one early SOE agent in France reported, the French were still hoping for the Allies, victory, and many of them are willing to help, but they would appreciate seeing something concrete besides retreating. During this period, the clandestine press played a vital role in stressing the deleterious impact of the occupation and encouraging the people to become more resistance-minded. In Britain, the Special Operations Executive, SOE, was set up, in Churchill's words, to set Europe ablaze, although it was clear that the fire of resistance was already burning. The second part, Growing the Resistance, covers the period from June 1941, when Germany invaded the Soviet Union, to September 1943, when Italy surrendered. During this period, new players appeared on the stage because the Communists were now freed from the shackles imposed by the 1939 Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and were encouraged by Moscow to engage in outright resistance to the Soviet Union's former ally, Germany. This is not to argue, as much communist historiography has done, that there was no resistance until the Communists became involved. The impact of the German invasion of the Soviet Union also affected German policies in the occupation regimes across Europe, most notably through the imposition of forced labour and the Holocaust of Europe's Jews. Finally, Allied victories at Stalingrad and in the Western Desert made it clear to more people that German domination of their countries was neither permanent nor irresistible.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.